presenting my capstone about supporting effective SEL instruction in middle school through professional development, which is presented to a Teachers College faculty of Western Governors University in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Masters of Science in Curriculum and Instruction. For a quick presentation overview, I will go over the research topic and problem, the research question, the methodology, the data and conclusions, the research product, which was a PD program, and recommendations for further investigation. This capstone research focused on the creation of a professional development program to support middle school teachers in grades 6 through 8 with social emotional learning strategies and interventions that are age appropriate and research based, designed for the students that they serve. The problem statement for this research project is that there was a gap in professional development opportunities for social emotional learning instruction and intervention that primarily affects secondary teachers in grades 6 through 8, which results in increased behavior issues in their students, decreased academic engagement, and underdeveloped social skills also in their students. Some additional factors that influenced this problem was that it was compounded by the COVID pandemic, causing significant social and emotional disruptions to the current student population. The guiding research question for this project was, how can a professional development program be created to address gaps in middle school teachers training and use of age-appropriate instructional strategies for social emotional learning? The methodology for this project started with a literature review where I consulted 15 peer-reviewed studies that examine the efficacy of SEL programs. And then I used a mixed methods applied research project that was including a 16-question survey distributed to 9 middle school teachers that varied in years of experience and educational background. The final result of this methodology was a PD program that I developed um, that spans 5 hours and is designed to address the SEL PD gap affecting middle school teachers. The instrument used for data collection was a 16-question Google Forms survey. 15 of those questions were multiple choice or Likert scale questions. One was an open-ended question. The questions focused on the social emotional learning professional development that teachers had already had, the needs that they identified within their students, and the needs that they identified for themselves as far as professional development goes. The types of data I collected with this survey was preliminary, primarily quantitative data with some qualitative data as well. During the data analysis, the quantitative data was analyzed using descriptive statistics, focusing specifically on percentages, frequencies of responses, and averages. The qualitative data was analyzed using thematic coding to identify some emergent themes from their responses. In the survey, 3 of the questions focused on understanding the demographics and backgrounds on the teachers surveyed. The results showed that the majority of teachers went through a traditional licensure program and have taught all grades in 6th through 8th. The years of experience varied greatly, with the highest number of participants having taught for 21 plus years. 3 of the questions on the survey asked teachers about their prior experience with professional development focused on SEL. The majority of teachers who had previously had some prior experience with SEL training. They also stated that their training ranked as a 1 on a Likert scale of 1 to 5 regarding how specific their training was to 6th through 8th grade students. This shows that the training that middle school teachers are receiving is not necessarily specific to the students that they teach. 3 questions ask the teachers who had taught both before and after the COVID pandemic what changes they observed. All teachers agreed that students' needs have changed both socially and academically, and they ranked the degree of change to be a 3 to 4 on a Likert scale of a 1 to 5. One question asked about teachers' experiences of being expected to deliver SEL instruction in a dedicated classroom. A majority of teachers stated that they had at some point been asked to teach a dedicated class regarding SEL instruction. 3 questions focused on teachers' current SEL strategies. Teachers ranked their perceived effectiveness with their current SEL methods, ranging from a 2 to a 4 on the 1 to 5 Likert scale. Their confidence they ranked ranging from a 2 to 5, with the most frequent responses being a 2 to 3 on the Likert scale. Current strategies that they identified varied greatly, with the most common strategy being advisory or check-in structures. 2 questions asked teachers about the current needs that they identified regarding SEL. Responses varied greatly with both questions. Most common challenges identified were the lack of motivation, emotional regulation, and relationship skills that they saw in their students. And the most common professional development needs they identified were for understanding the adolescent development, student engagement strategies, and ready to go lesson plans. In the qualitative data, there was a desire for comprehensive SEL training that unifies all adults who work with their students, specifically including all teachers and team members, service providers, as well as parents, so that they can present a unified front. This theme is shown in green on the screen. Teachers also stated a desire for training that's specific to middle school students, specifying how romantic relationships can affect them, which primarily becomes an issue for students in middle school, and other systemic programs that address the unique needs of middle school learners. These responses are coded in pink. The results and conclusions of this research, for the literature portion, the literature summarized very much concluded that SEL instruction is effective, but there is a lack of research for middle school specific SEL instruction and whether or not that has a effect on student behavior. Detrimental student behaviors have increased since the COVID pandemic, which was also shown in the literature. The research shows that SEL programs that are not age appropriate lose substantial efficacy, proving that there is a need for age appropriate strategies for middle school teachers. The survey results demonstrated that teachers identified increased social and emotional needs in their students since the COVID pandemic. They also identified a lack of SEL PD specific to middle school students, and they report being expected to deliver SEL instruction without necessarily being provided the PD regarding age appropriate SEL strategies. Um, to draw a broad conclusion, the research shows that there is a need for increased professional development to support 6th through 8th grade teachers in delivering effective SEL instruction, which will ultimately benefit all parties involved. Some of the strengths of the research included the mixed methods approach, which allowed for concrete descriptive statistics, but also provided me as the researcher an opportunity to correct my bias, specifically in the qualitative data. Some of the responses that I received were things that I had not previously considered. Another strength of the methodology was the literature review, which provided a strong foundation of research to support the applied research project. Some of the weaknesses of the survey include the small sample size, which included 9 teachers at a single research site. One other weakness that I had from the survey part of the methodology was the lack of alignment to CASEL competencies. Based on some of the unclear wording on a few of the questions, I created obstacles for myself later on in the PD creation that connected the literature review to the needs identified by teachers using the CASEL competencies. Some influential factors in this project were the size and type of schools surveyed. The school for the research site was a small K-8 school as opposed to a traditional middle school. Because of that, there are fewer middle school teachers and likely fewer professional development opportunities dedicated specifically to middle school teachers. Another influential factor was the time of the school year, and the survey was the survey was distributed at the end of the year in May, which typically has increased behavior demands and SEL related issues due to students' upcoming disruption to their routines. This could have impacted teachers' perspectives and therefore their responses on the survey. The product after this research was a professional development program that spans 5 hours, delivered over 1 hour sessions over 5 weeks. The goal of the professional development is to provide participants with concrete strategies for student engagement and sample lesson plans for SEL based lessons that are age appropriate and targeted to students in grades 6 through 8. The structure of the PD program is that each 1 hour session each week will focus on one of the CASEL competencies of SEL instruction, including relationship skills, responsible decision making, self awareness, self management, and social awareness. A quick overview of the example of an example of one of the days of PD shows the following. There is two slides at the beginning that give a broad definition of the CASEL competency, as well as some examples of what skills are included within that CASEL competency. There's also a list of activities for teachers to look at so they can see some ideas of how they might be able to teach this competency in their own classroom. There's a discussion portion as well as an activity demonstration where participants will try out the different activities that can teach this CASEL competency. And finally, there are reflection questions at the end. Along with the presentation itself, the PD has an accompanying handout, which provides detailed explanation of each competency, example activities, and it provides space for teachers to collect their participation in the discussion and reflection questions. The goal for this part was to give teachers and participants ready-to-go lesson plans and student engagement strategies that they can implement immediately in their classroom. Some implications for further investigation include the efficacy of age-appropriate SELPD. Further investigation is recommended specifically regarding the effect of increased professional development for sixth through eighth grade teachers regarding SEL, as well as increased research focused on age-appropriate SEL instructional strategies for students in grades 6 through 8. And one more future recommendation is to widen the initial research to include more diverse communities in addition to the original research site to identify whether this problem is broad or more specific. To give some more concrete examples of recommendations for further investigation, I would recommend piloting and evaluating a PD program focused on middle school specific SEL strategies and interventions. I would then collect teacher feedback on the implementation, as well as data on changes to student behavior issues by logging behavioral challenges teachers had after the professional development as opposed to what they logged before the professional development. Thank you.